topic for today is 7 ways to reach the new LGBT traveler. And I'd like to start by showing you what gay travelers looked like in the 1960s. At least this is what I looked like in the 1960s, the little kid up there. And of course, I didn't really know that I was a gay traveler at that point, but you can still at least admire my nice Matchbox car carrying case accessory. But the point is that, like me, overall, gay travelers have evolved in the past few decades. And so is the way that travel organizations are marketing to them. So if you're here, you're already aware of how important this niche is. And so what we're going to do today is to take a look at the evolution of LGBT travel marketing and the latest trends and a few success stories. It's just going to be a few minutes, so we'll just get a quick overview. And one quick note before we start. Throughout the presentation, I'm going to be using the term gay interchangeably with LGBT, which, as you probably know, stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. Part of that is because I sometimes trip over the letters LGBT, and I want to try to speak fluidly. Anyway, step number 1, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to forget that these travelers are gay, just for a moment, because clearing our minds about that can help us to get a more open-minded approach to how to reach these travelers. And that's because in a lot of ways, LGBT travelers have a lot in common with every other traveler. We look for a lot of the same things, we have a lot of the same diverse interests. So clear your mind just for a moment and forget that they're LGBT, forget that they're gay, and let's move on. So how do you get to these travelers? Step number 1 is to diversify. As we know, the LGBT market isn't one big homogenous group, especially nowadays. So you need to think of all of these niches and even more when you're determining your own marketing plan. So there are families with kids, multi-ethnic, upscale travelers, senior travelers, young travelers. These are just a few. There's a lot more, but these are some to get you thinking. And you need to think what your company, organization, or destination can do in order to reach these niches within the niche. Step number 2 is to integrate. Gay travelers feel more comfortable than ever with their straight counterparts and vice versa. And if you're a gay-specific business, you might already be expanding your strategy in order to address the quote-unquote mainstream heterosexual travel market. And if you're a quote-unquote mainstream company or destination, you should start seriously thinking about integrating your own LGBT marketing material with your other content if you haven't already. Take a look at the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau, or CVB, for example. Last year, they integrated their LGBT campaign into their mainstream marketing tactics. They incorporated gay content into their TV campaigns, and they've included it in all of their live promotions around the country since last year. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Association has taken a rather creative approach at integrating its LGBT marketing message into the mainstream message. And I don't know if any of you have seen this very recent TV commercial, but it blends together several different markets all at one time and with a rather Vegas-style sense of humor. So if I can get this to work, we'll take a quick look at that.
Hi, we are checking in for the weekend.
Welcome. I'll be with you in just 1 moment.
Great.
Hey, I'm gonna go freshen up. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll be right here.
You gentlemen ready to check in?
It's a great commercial. It gets attention. It makes people laugh. And it addresses a lot of different markets at once. That's just one example. Lots of other destinations have joined the fun as well. San Francisco Travel, which is that city's tourism organization, has brought gay elements into the parties it throws for international buyers during IPW, which is the U.S. Travel Association's annual tourism convention. It's not a gay convention, but they have drag queens, they have go-go boys, and they have a lot of entertainment that appeals to a wide variety of travelers and business people. And it's a fun, memorable way that that destination shows the uniqueness of its brand and builds its brand with international travelers and those who sell international travel. Mexico is a major sponsor of this year's New York Travel Festival, so it's definitely worth noting that there are 3 Mexican destinations that have made great strides recently in promoting themselves to the LGBT market. The most recent to join the effort is the Cancun CVB, and which last year they joined the IGLTA, which is known as the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association. The Puerto Vallarta CVB already has a section on its website proclaiming its gay friendliness, And Mexico City's tourism site, you see a glimpse here, they're especially detailed and especially progressive in terms of providing really super detailed gay travel information for everybody, accessible on their site. What you're seeing here is the cover of a 50-page free travel guide. You can download it for free in either English or in Spanish, and it has really amazing information that's useful for every traveler, but it also helps to show how very friendly the city is and how interested they are in attracting LGBT travelers. Another good case study is American Airlines. If you search for the word gay right on the American Airlines website, three different topics come up: consumer travel, workplace equality, and employee resource groups. They make it easy for everyone to see that not only do they want gay money, but they also want to treat their employees fairly. You can also like their rainbow team on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. But surprisingly, not every major US airline makes it so easy to find their gay product or their gay friendliness. So it's no wonder that American Airlines tends to score much higher on a lot of LGBT surveys of travelers. In the hotel front, we have Preferred Hotel Group, which represents more than 650 independent hotel properties around the world. They just recently integrated their preferred pride content, that's what they call their gay and lesbian marketing campaign, onto their main website. And they've also moved most of their LGBT advertising into mainstream media. They recognize that gay travelers are just as likely to be reading Condé Nast Traveler as they are Out with the Advocate. Another thing that you should keep in mind is to expand your products and your campaigns. And Marriott International, for example, is another major player that has broadened its LGBT marketing efforts with a microsite accessible in no less than 5 languages now. Hilton has a campaign called Stay Hilton and Go Out, and it's been expanded to more than 460 hotel properties since it debuted in 2012. Or take a look again at the city of Fort Lauderdale. They were one of the first cities to launch a gay-specific marketing campaign back in 1995, and they had a tiny budget of just $35,000, which was matched equally by a contribution from local gay hotels for a series of co-op ads. Today, that budget has jumped to over $1 million a year. 17 years ago, LGBT or gay was a niche market, according to Richard Gray. He's the LGBT director of the Fort Lauderdale CBB. Now he says it's a full market within its own right, and last year he says the city of Fort Lauderdale received 1.3 million LGBT visitors who spent $1.5 billion. So it's a big market. To keep the momentum going, Fort Lauderdale is finding new opportunities and new ways to diversify. They're focusing especially hard on building the gay meetings and sporting events market. According to Gray, the reasoning is this. He says, "We feel confident that if we can get groups, we will also secure them as leisure travelers." Step number 4 is to know your media. Be aware of how people are getting information about your business, and that should influence not only how you advertise and promote yourself, but also how you stay on top of what your customers are saying about you. That's one thing that guides a man named Bill Bodeker. He's the owner of a guest house called Parker Guest House, a bed and breakfast in San Francisco's Castro district. He says that when his hotel opened in 1997, they advertised exclusively in gay and lesbian media, like the Damron Guide and Spartacus. But he says he still uses gay-specific sites like Gay Cities, Purple Roofs, and GayTravel.com, but the main source of his business today, it's Google, it's TripAdvisor, and it's bedandbreakfast.com. And that has also helped him to increase the percentage of straight guests that he has. San Francisco Travel is another organization that's moved away from some print vehicles, according to Lynn Bruni. She's the organization's vice president of marketing communications. At the same time, they've also moved away from strictly vertical media buys. That means they no longer target gay travelers solely through LGBT media. They have, however, partnered with gaycities.com, as well as other California cities like Palm Springs and West Hollywood, to create joint promotions that benefit all of the destinations. So they're working together to build their market share. American Airlines also relies more than ever on electronic and social media. Its microsite is now available not only in English, but also in Spanish and Portuguese, and that reflects the company's increasing internationalization of the LGBT marketing effort, because at first they were focusing solely on the US market. Another thing that you can do, create excitement and shareable moments. When it comes down to it, we all want a lot of the same basic things when we travel. So you need to appeal to some pretty basic emotions if you're going to convince people to spend their time and money with you. Communicate the value of the experience, and also make it easy for people to share their excitement through social media, even if they haven't taken the trip yet. Keep the conversation going. Among the more memorable examples is Air New Zealand. They gained not only social media shares, but lots of press coverage with their gay-friendly activities. In 2008, the airline staged an all-gay flight. It was called a Pink Flight, and that flew passengers from San Francisco to the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras in Sydney, Australia. In 2013, on the same day that New Zealand's same-sex marriage law went into effect, they hosted a same-sex wedding in flight, and it was attended by none other than Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who's one of the stars of the ABC sitcom Modern Family. The folks who run Marriott Residence Inns report success with their own publicity tactics as well. Last year, they named lesbian chef and television personality Kat Cora as the chain's Residence Mom of the Year to help connect with traveling parents and families, including same-sex couples.